This exhaust is an excellent choice for the S650 GT owner who wants excellent sound, great build quality, and some aggressive good looks to go along with it. This particular iteration of Borla's popular Attack Catback combines some of the best build and material quality you can get with an absolutely awesome noise. It's truly a great choice for the Mustang owner who wants everything from their exhaust. However, make no mistake, this one is loud. On our loudness meter, we're going to put this right at the top, give it a full 5 out of 5. It's definitely enough to make a big difference in the driving experience of your Mustang. Just a quick note on fitment here, this is designed to fit 2024 and newer Mustang GT Fastbacks that were not equipped with the factory active exhaust. Now, it's no secret that Borla makes some of the best exhausts you can buy, especially when it comes to how they sound, and the Attack series is the loudest of the bunch. As you heard from the clips at the beginning of the video, you're going to get that deep, burbly, aggressive race car inspired note on the outside. It's a great sound, truly. This is a full 3-inch catback exhaust that is going to work with your factory manifolds, aftermarket shorty headers, and still keep your factory cats in place. So it will sound great and it will be street legal. Now, let's be perfectly honest here. Making the Coyote V8 sound good is not a hard thing to do, but balancing good sound and volume in a way that's not going to make your ears bleed is a bit harder to accomplish. And that's where Borla does it better than most. They pack in a number of things to make this system more than just loud. It's actually quite pleasing, and there's zero drone. First thing they include is an X-pipe. This is going to help eliminate drone by allowing the exhaust pulses to cross over and intermingle, so you don't get that horrible drone, you don't get that offbeat kind of thing going on. The X-pipe also has another big benefit, and that is a power increase. Since this allows for crossover of those exhaust gas pulses, it helps with exhaust gas scavenging, and it can create a bit of a vacuum and pull those exhaust gases through the system. Basically, it's going to allow for better flow, especially up in the top end of the rev range, which, as you Coyote owners know, is where these engines thrive. So you'll end up with a bit more power and better response as well. But there's even more that they have baked in here, and it's right there in the name. The Attack name stands for Acoustically Tuned Applied Kinetics, which is basically Borla speak saying that they tune each exhaust for a specific vehicle application. This system also uses Borla's patented polyphonic harmonizing technology, which is again going to help eliminate drone. And I do mean eliminate. This is not something that just takes the edge off, it completely gets rid of it. This is essentially the same type of science that goes into tuning any kind of wind instrument or like a pipe organ. They use different types of pipe to control different frequencies, and that eliminates obtrusive or dissonant sounds in the system. In this system, they're right here as part of the over-axle pipes, right before the mufflers. Now, these trick bits utilize different sizes and diameters of piping. There's perforated tube-shaped cores and different patterns within those pipes to make the frequencies harmonize. So you get that really nice sound and the volume that you want, again, with zero drone. So even though this is going to be quite a bit louder inside of the cabinet, especially because these mufflers are just chambered suitcase mufflers. So there's no baffling or really any kind of sound absorption inside of them. That means that though, again, it will be much louder inside of the cabin versus your stock system, you'll actually be able to enjoy it even on a longer road trip. Now, you're gonna need to turn up your volume on your favorite song, but when an exhaust sounds this good, I say it's a small price to pay, and maybe you should just turn the radio off. Now, the other party piece here are, of course, the 4-inch carbon fiber tips, and they finish the whole thing off really nicely, and it's a bit of a unique look. As you can see, they have the carbon fiber surround, and there's some black centers on them over top of the piping here. So they bring a pretty cool visual update to your Mustang. These are real carbon fiber too, and they feature that slash cut design, so at a glance, they do look similar to your factory tips. However, the keen-eyed enthusiast is going to spot them right away, especially because of that big Borla logo right there on the edge. And that's without even hearing this thing fire up. When it comes to construction, again, this is a really high quality system. Borla makes all of their exhausts out of T304 stainless steel, so you're getting excellent corrosion and rust resistance here. Every bit of piping here is made from T304, from the flanges, the X-pipe, the adapters, all the way back to the tips, so it's about as good of a quality as you're likely to find anywhere. As you can see, it's also a nice looking exhaust. The piping is 3-inch mandrel vent tubing all the way through, so there are no weird creases, wrinkles, or restrictions in the system. Again, like that X-pipe, that means that all the exhaust gases are going to flow smoothly through the system, allowing your engine to breathe better than it did stock and help reduce back pressure. Pricing for this one will come in at around $2,200, so this is not a budget system. This does put it at the top end of the category when it comes to exhaust for this gen of Mustang, but the quality and sound here are more than worth it in my opinion. If you want something that's going to sound good and give you that volume you're after while still lasting you a long time, this is going to be the right choice. Just make sure you've got enough in your bank account to cover it. Installation will come in at a 2 out of 3 on our difficulty meter and should take you about 2 hours to complete. This is designed to be a bolt-on installation and it will use all your factory exhaust hanger locations, so you don't need to permanently modify anything on the car in order to get this fitted. Not much more I can say about it here, so with that, why don't we head on out to the shop and we'll walk you through the process step by step.
For this install, you need a 3/8 impact and ratchet, 3/8 extension, a 15 and 13 millimeter swivel socket, a pry bar, exhaust hanger tool, and a mallet. And also not shown will be a lift and pole jacks. All right, today we're going to be putting an exhaust on our Mustang. First, we're going to watch a quick video how to uninstall a stock system, then we'll come back here to install a new one.
So the first thing we're going to do is come to the double flange behind our cat. We have 4 15 millimeter bolts that we can loosen up with a 15 millimeter socket. Now we're going to leave this just like that for now as we work on the rest. One thing to keep in mind is when we go to pull this off, this little hook is keeping this on, so you're going to have to get a flathead screwdriver to pull back on that on both sides when we go to remove it. Next, we can come right behind our rear diff to this hanger. There's one on each side of this bracket. There's a 13 millimeter bolt holding it on. So I've got a 13 millimeter swivel socket on an extension to pop this off. And now we'll just come to the other side and do the same exact thing. And now with them both removed, you can push up to get those hangers off the hooks. And do that same thing on the other side. Now, last thing we need to do before we can remove this is remove these 2 bolts that were on the inside of those 2 hangers behind the rear diff. So I'm using that same 13 millimeter socket with an extension. Now with those removed, we can push it up off the hook and pull that down to get the clearance we need. So now I've got myself a buddy to support the weight of the rear of the exhaust while I work on the front. We're going to push this towards the rear to disconnect these 2 pipes, and then we can pull it forward to pull it out of the back hangers. So now with our exhaust removed, we can take an exhaust hanger remover tool to pop off these 2 hangers because we will have to reuse them for our new exhaust. Now, the last thing we need to pop off is our 2 clamps that are at the front of the exhaust. You can take a rubber mallet and get the edge of a pry bar on the edge of the clamp to tap these off.
So we're going to start getting our new exhaust on. We're going to start with our factory clamps. We're just going to slide them over our front pipes. Get them locked into place. And then we have our 2 adapter pipes. They'll simply just slide into our factory clamps. After that, we have our X pipe. We're going to get 2 of our supplied clamps. Just slide them over. Slide them over our adapter pipes. If you need to, you just need to move them around a little bit. Slide that all the way on. We're going to leave all of this loose, and we'll come back and tighten it after we get everything else on. So we're going to continue on with our around the axle pipe. As you can see, I did put 2 more clamps on the back of our X pipe. They'll go over these. We do need to grab our factory hanger and just slide that over the hanger built onto the pipe here. We're going to slide it into our X pipe. And we can bring our hanger up and just kind of hook it up over the subframe for now and let it rest there. Next we have our muffler. So you see I have another one of our clamps just resting over. We're gonna get it into our hanger on the back here first, and then we can slide the 2 pipes together. We can just let that rest like so. Now you can go ahead and repeat the same thing with the other axle pipe and muffler on the other side. So now we're going to start tightening everything, starting from the front, working our way backwards. Now I do have 2 pole jacks under the rear mufflers just to help hold everything up in place while we're tightening it down. So we're going to start with our factory clamps. Now all of our clamps are 15mm hardware, so we're just going to grab our impact and 15mm socket. Tighten our 2 factory clamps first. Then we have our 2 clamps on our adapters. First thing, just make sure that you have your X pipe nice and level, and we're going to tighten these down. Keep moving backwards, and we're going to get our 2 clamps after our X pipe. So before we get our last 2 clamps, we're just going to tighten down all of our hardware for our hangers and then this cover bracket. So we have our 2 13mm bolts that go in our hangers. We're just going to thread everything in, and then we'll tighten everything down. You need to just move the pipes around, just get everything lined up. Then make sure you hook your bracket up on the subframe and thread in your last 2 13mm bolts. So now I'm going to grab my ratchet, 3/8 extension, and a 13mm swivel socket. We're going to tighten all 4 of our bolts down here. Now we just have our last 2 clamps, so I'm going to switch back to our impact and 15mm socket and tighten these 2 down. All right, now we can get our pole jacks out of the way, we're all good to go. And that wraps up our install of our Borla Attack catback exhaust with black carbon fiber tips for our 2024 newer Mustang GT Fastback without active exhaust. And remember, for everything Mustang, keep it right here at AmericanMuscle.com.